All right, welcome to Close Call. We're here again with the one and only James Urie. We're going to be talking today about consultative selling. What is it? How do you become a consultative salesperson? And why is it such an important sales model or sales methodology? So we're happy to have you back, James. And to start us off, how would you define consultative selling? There's a lot of different definitions or ways of describing it, but how do
Mhm.
you view this kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. My thoughts on the definition here would be the sales rep is an expert focused on solving a specific challenge of a prospect and making expert recommendations and offering real solutions based on that challenge. In brevity, it's actually taking the time to care and listen and ask the right questions to get to the true challenge that the prospect has so you can actually help them as an expert. That's the way that I think about it.
Hmm, that makes sense. I like that. So then what are some key skills or qualities that a consultative salesperson would need?
A couple of them come to mind. A deep level of empathy, so the ability to truly understand someone's perspective. Now, you might have some fundamental, expert knowledge on how to solve a problem, but you still have to be able to put yourself in someone's shoes and truly understand the challenge in their day-to-day life and how that looks for them and put yourself in that position of pain and help them come to a real solution. So a deep level of empathy is definitely one. I would say someone who's an excellent rapport and relationship builder, someone who has a good energy, has the true interest of someone in mind, is curious about other people, not just like the problem they're trying to solve, but them as a human being. A good relationship builder goes a long way in consultative selling, being able to warm up that relationship, which ultimately builds trust, right? You become a trustworthy person, and having a trustworthy disposition is related to being a good relationship builder. And then the last three that I think of is the ability to be authentic, honest, but also very confident in what you are an expert in, how you can solve problems. That confidence relates to trust, right? If you are extremely confident in how you'll help someone solve a problem, it builds trust, helps you ultimately close the deal, if you will, make money, but also really help someone.
Hmm, yeah, I like that. So to be a consultative salesperson, you really do need to be an expert in whatever you're selling in that industry, no?
It's extremely helpful for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I would say if you have some of the core values of you have a deep level of empathy, you're an excellent relationship builder, you have a warm and trustworthy disposition. Yes, that final thing is become an expert in something that you're selling or become an expert in what you're selling so that you can complete the circle and become just a truly great consultative salesperson.
I like that. Yeah. So then talking about the sales process, because in general, a sales process follows a certain pattern.
Mhm.
Most sales processes
Yeah.
would follow a certain pattern. How is it maybe a little bit different when it comes to consultative sales? How would that differ a little bit from traditional sales?
So the way that I think about this, like consultative versus traditional, is traditional, I think of as fairly black and white. Um, you're buying this or you're buying that, and there's no context in between. It's just a decision based on what you're buying. Now, I think consultative sales is very different. If there's a salesperson involved and there's a human being involved, there is typically some level of expertise that should be able to go into that sales conversation. So, in my opinion, it shouldn't be a traditional sales process if a salesperson is involved. Now,
Hmm.
to give you, an example, let's say, and I'm going to take this out of the SaaS world and put it into the real world. Let's say you walk into a furniture store, right? You want to get a new sectional couch. Person in the furniture store says, "Hey, how are you? What are you looking for today?" You tell them, "I'm looking for a sectional couch." And that person could go, "Great. We have two in stock. They're over there." And that's it, right? And then they go over there and they're like, "Well, it's this one or it's this one." And they might not even be like, "I don't really like either one of these," and just leave. Or it's just like, "I'm just going to buy that one. I like that one." So, you run a bit of a gamble. Or you walk in, say, "I'm looking for a sectional couch." They go, "Great." They go, "What kind of space are you looking to put this couch in? Is it your couch that you relax in at night and you watch Netflix after you put the kids to bed. And, that's like your couch and you want to look forward to that at the end of the day, whatever it might be. Or do you, and also the other thing coming to kids, do you have kids? Right. That's also another important element of buying furniture. Kids are messy, they spill. And now they have, new fabrics that are spill proof, these types of things. So digging a little bit deeper to understand what they're actually trying to use that couch for. Or is it a couch where it's in that one room that you use sometimes when company comes over around the holidays and you want it to look nice and have a nice material, right?
Mm.
Very different conversations. They say, I want it to be my couch that at the end of the day, I want to chill on. Like, that's our couch. We want it to be comfortable. Like, this is a big decision because we'll spend so much time on it. Great. Let me show you this one. We have two in stock. I'll show you both. But I'm gonna show you this one because I like the depth of the couch better. When you're relaxing, you're sitting down, you can really lean. It's not pushing against you. I like the material. It's comfortable. It doesn't get too hot. It doesn't get too cold. I like it because you can pull off the covers and wash them so it's clean after you spent tons of time on it or the kids are on it, right? Or we have this other one that doesn't do these things. And so it's taking the time to understand what people are actually trying to do, and that is relatable to really any sales process where there is a salesperson involved.
I love that. That's
Mm.
such a vivid example of, like, bringing it to the real world. I love that so much. So then, of course, from what I'm seeing then, a consultative sales process requires a lot of questions. Like,
Yes.
asking questions is a core part of consultative sales. And so then let me ask you, what
Yep.
kind of questions would a consultative seller ask, especially in the context of SaaS, startups? What are the questions that they should be asking in the sales process?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to thorough discovery, right? And thorough discovery is a lot of questions. And what questions do I ask? And when do I need to ask? Well, that depends on what you're selling. And it also depends on your ability to put yourself in the other person's perspective and understand their problem. So let's put it into an example of SaaS. Someone comes to close, they get on a demo with one of our salespeople. And I'm going to keep it super open ended at the very front of it. I just want to get them talking. And my initial sales question is going to be, catch me up. Give me some context on what you're trying to do. They can't say yes or no to that question, right? Like,
Mm.
it really requires a lot of thought. They're going to give you some level of detail that's either going to give you the whole picture or it's going to lead you to another question, right? They might say, "Oh, I'm looking for a solution where I can import lists and, I want to do outbound emails and cold calling." I could say, "Great, we can do that. Do you want to buy?" And they'd be like, "What?" Or or I can say, "Great, how many, like, leads or contacts are you looking to import?" If they say, probably like 100 a week, 50 a week." Or they could say, "Oh, I have a list of 25,000 people that we're gonna work on over the course of 6 months." That's a very different conversation based on the number of
Mm.
contacts. And let's just pretend they answer, probably 100 a week. Okay, great. Like, how are you going to approach those cold emails? Well, I'm not sure yet. Like, we want to put together some email templates and some email copy and send out to them. Well, do you want to, like, add any elements of, like, personalization to those cold emails? Typically, it sounds like you're working a lower volume, 100 leads a week. That's not that many. And so it sounds like your team might have the bandwidth to do some more personalization. How many sales reps are on your team that are going to be tackling these 100 leads? Oh, there's going to be 3 of us. Oh, great. So you're saying they're going to have 30 leads a week to go out and engage? Here's what I would do. I would recommend that you do a lot of personalization on that very first email, right? Take the time, do the research, personalize that first email at a very, very minimum, and make sure that the person that you send it to can see that customization, that you took the time to understand their business and you took the time to seek them out and contact them for a specific reason, right? And so they go, "Oh, yeah, that's absolutely. I hadn't even thought about it that way." Right. And so taking the time to dig a little bit deeper of what they're trying to do, who's involved, numbers, these types of things can help you lead to a conversation where you're making an expert recommendation. And you said, "Oh, by the way, you said you wanted to do cold calling. Tell me a little bit more about, like, what a cold call looks like for one of your sales reps." They tell you, "Okay, yeah, we're calling this persona in this industry. Are these just like business? Like, you're calling the office? Is it their cell phone?" Oh, actually, yeah, we actually have their cell phone numbers. These are the type of people that are on the go and, they have their cell phone. Oh, awesome. We can do cold calling. That'll be easy. We can actually segment these folks into a list and, you can use our power dial them. That'll be no problem there. But have you thought about using text message and SMS since these people always have their cell phone? No. Like I know you guys have SMS, but like how would you approach that? Well, I would approach it like you're texting your mom. Like, be super genuine and thorough. And not salesy. Don't say, "Hey, I'm this person with this company and I sell this thing." You could say, "I'm this person with this company." Introduce your voice that is real and authentic. And so it's these questions that help you dig a little bit deeper, help you to solve their problems, help make recommendations for strategies that they might be not thinking about, and also keeping it in the best interest of like, I'm trying to help you be the best that you can be in not only solving this problem, but getting amazing results in solving this problem.
I love that. That's such a cool example too, because as you're going through it, there's sort of a chain, like a link of questions
Mm,
that the goal is to get them to see the value of the product. But in
mhm.
between, you're also sort of training them on sales itself.
Exactly. And along when approach this from a point of curiosity and empathy, I will sit there when I'm having a conversation with somebody and I'll stop and I'll say, just give me a minute to think about this. And if they, throw a really challenging problem at me, and I'll sit there for 60 seconds and say nothing. And really think about and visualize like how I would go about solving a problem and then come to a solution. Be like, okay, I got it. And then present it. So don't feel like it has to be rapid fire, like one
Mm.
question to an next, one question to an next. Like really allow them to compound and build and complement each other and do pause and think about things as a consultant, as an expert, so that you can provide the most value.
I like that. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Can
Okay.
you give us another example of consultative selling? I'm loving these examples.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll give you a personal example that actually happened to me. I was transitioning my garage into my office. We are notoriously like not garage people where we park our car in it. We use our garage as like an auxiliary space and we spend time in it. And we live in Colorado, so it gets cold in the garage. And I wanted to heat and cool it so that I can be out here regularly, as I am right now, working. And so I was trying to solve for heat as the primary thing. And I actually went on Amazon and I bought a mini split. If you don't know what a mini split, it's like a little heat pump and you install it into the wall and it's more efficient than, your regular heaters and it's really good at heating or cool. It will heat and cool a space. So I did it. I got it on Amazon. They shipped it over to me and I got a recommendation from my neighbor, someone who can install this because it requires like a 220 electricity hookup that goes directly into the unit. And I needed someone that could do this, but also install the unit. So I get this guy, he comes out. I have it. I mean, we schedule this appointment like a couple weeks in advance. And he comes out, he looks at the mini split, he takes it out, he's looking through the manual. And I could see him kind of his wheels are turning, and I'm standing here and I'm like so stoked. I'm like, oh, I can't wait till this thing is up. It's gonna be amazing. And he goes, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not gonna heat the garage the way that you want it to. He goes, I'll install it for you. Like, no worries. But I just want to give you a fair warning that this is not going to heat the garage the way that you want it to. And I don't want you to be mad at me when I install it and
Mm.
it's not heating. I'm like, oh, I was like, why? And he said that because of the concrete floors, if the floors were insulated, he's like, he'd probably do a pretty good job. But the concrete floors are so cold that it essentially is like a refrigerator. It's just not going to pump enough heat to heat up that floor, then heat up the space. And he's like, you can either solve for that or you could go a different route with heating. He's like, what I would do is I would get a pellet stove that is rated for like 2,500 square feet. And I would put that in here. That's going to heat the floor. That's going to heat the whole space. You're going to be very happy with that. Doesn't solve your cooling problem. He says, but keep in mind, we live in the mountains, so you can just open the window at night, let the cool air in, close the door in the day, probably be fine. You probably might have 1 hour out of the day where you're like a little bit hot. It's like, fair point. And so I actually ran a complete pivot, installed the pellet stove instead, and I'm running that thing as we speak, and put the mini split on the back burner sitting on a shelf over there. And so this is just another area of consultative sales. He already had the sale. He already closed the deal. He was going to install it and do it, but he dug a little bit deeper of what I was trying to do asked questions about how I'm going to use the space, and ultimately made a expert recommendation. And I didn't even hire him for the pellet stove. I did it myself because it was easy. But, it was a consultative sell. He didn't close the deal, but he has numerous amounts of business out there in our small community that he can go out and do this. But he had my best interest in mind.
That's interesting. And I like that pulling from that example, when you're a consultative seller and you come across a prospect or a potential customer that you're asking them questions, you're digging into their issues, and you realize actually this isn't a good fit for
Mhm.
what you're trying to sell. What does a consultative seller do at that point? I think I know the answer to that question because of the story you just told, but what would a consultative seller do at that point?
Well, I'm just going to clarify and be transparent. I'll typically go, I'm going to be the first one to throw up the red flags on you, okay? Because I don't want to convert an unhappy customer. This is something we can't do. Like,
Hmm.
if there's a workaround, I might tell them, we could do this workaround, but I don't think you're going to be happy with it. Or we flat out can't do it. Is this a showstopper for you? 50% of the time, they're going to go, yeah, it is. Well, fair enough. At least we figured this out. And sometimes if I have a recommendation in mind, I'll make a recommendation towards another platform that can solve their problem. The other 50% of the time, they go, not a showstopper. Let's keep going. Okay, great. Just want to make sure that you're aware that we can't do that. We can't solve for that. No worries. Move on. So again, keeping the best interest of the customer or the prospect in mind, and being authentic and clear that you can't solve it in a way that they had expected. Sometimes it stops the deal. Sometimes you just keep rolling, but builds trust either way.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I guess this is sort of the idea of moving away from this sort of salesy
Mhm.
way of selling. And
Yeah,
I love that. I think that makes so much sense. Consultative selling is actually caring about the other person and looking for their best interests as well.
absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
there's a huge stigma around what a salesperson is.
Hmm.
People who don't understand sales well think of your typical car dealership. And no offense, if you're car dealer salesman, no offense. I'm not saying that you're that guy, but people typically point to this example, and I'm sorry. But anyway, if you are even considering a career in sales, or are curious about it, or don't understand it, the best salesmen in the world are people who are deeply empathetic. They can put themselves in someone else's perspective. They ask questions to really get a thorough understanding of the challenge that they're trying to solve. They give the prospect or the customer really tangible solutions where that person can actually visualize how it's going to be solved. And then you give
Hmm.
them a path of execution, right? Great. We are totally in alignment. We can help you. Now, here's how we're going to do it. And that's what makes for the best salespeople in the world. The best salespeople in the world are not someone who gets on the call and tries to close the deal.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Thanks so much, James. We've learned
Absolutely.
today consultative sales is being empathetic, being authentic, being an expert, and actually caring about the other person.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, James, and explaining consultative sales for us.
Yeah, absolutely.